Rahul never expected that his life would change on an ordinary night. He lived alone in a small and peaceful village where most people slept early. His house was simple, built with love by his parents many years ago. The walls were old but strong, the wooden door creaked when the wind moved it, and the small garden outside smelled like fresh earth. Rahul liked quiet nights. After a long day of work, he often made a cup of tea, sat outside on a small wooden chair, and looked at the sky. He enjoyed watching the stars because they made him feel calm and safe. But one night, the sky did not look the way it normally did. Rahul noticed something strange the moment he stepped outside. The stars were shining brighter than usual, and a few of them looked as if they were moving in straight lines. At first, he thought his eyes were tired. He blinked several times, rubbed his face, and tried to ignore the feeling that something unusual was happening. He told himself it must be a meteor shower, something people only saw once in many years. But deep inside, he felt it was not that simple. The movements in the sky became faster. Small bright dots danced across the darkness like fireflies made of light. They shifted in perfect patterns, forming shapes that looked too neat to be natural. Rahul leaned forward, trying to understand what he was seeing. His heartbeat became loud in his ears. The night turned strangely silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. He stood up from his chair, his tea left forgotten on the ground beside him. A faint humming sound reached his ears. It was soft at first, like a distant vibration, but with each second, it grew stronger. The wind around him changed direction, and the air felt warm, almost like a gentle wave of heat touching his face. Rahul took a step back, unsure of what to do, before he could decide. A bright column of white-blue light shot down from the sky and landed right in front of his house. The light was so bright that Rahul had to cover his eyes. The ground trembled slightly beneath his feet, but not in a dangerous way, more like a warning that something beyond human understanding had arrived. Rahul wanted to run, but his legs refused to move. A strange sense of calm washed over him, mixing with fear and curiosity. The light slowly softened, and he dared to look again. Standing inside the glowing column was a tall figure. At first, the figure looked like a silhouette made of pure brightness. But then the light shifted, revealing a woman-like shape. She was unlike anyone Rahul had ever seen. Her skin had a soft glow, almost like moonlight on water. Her eyes were calm and wise, filled with colors he could not even name. Her clothes were made of smooth, silver-like material that moved gently even though there was no wind. She held something in each arm, two small figures curled close to her chest. Rahul opened his mouth, but could not speak. His mind felt frozen. The woman stepped forward, and the light behind her dimmed, allowing him to see more clearly. The two small figures were girls young, peaceful, and strangely beautiful. They looked partly human, but not completely. Their hair shimmered like strands of light, and their skin had soft patterns that seemed to move. The woman looked directly at Rahul, and he felt as if she had known him forever. She spoke in a voice that was gentle yet powerful. What surprised him most was that she spoke his name without hesitation. Rahul. She said as if she had traveled across the universe just to speak to him. I have come to ask something important. Rahul finally found his voice, shaky and confused. Who are you? The woman gave a small smile, one filled with kindness and sadness at the same time. I am the queen of a distant star. My home is far beyond your sky. Rahul felt the world spinning around him. The fact that she claimed to be an alien queen would have sounded impossible any other day. But tonight nothing felt impossible. The girls in her arms looked at him with curious eyes. The queen stepped closer and gently placed the two girls on his doorstep. Rahul stepped back, startled. This is not a mistake, she said softly. I am leaving them in your care. Rahul blinked in confusion. What? Why me? I don't understand. She looked up at the sky for a moment. Her expression showed deep concern. My land is in danger. There is a conflict that could harm my children. I must protect them. And to do that, they must stay far away from the place where the danger is. But why here? Rahul asked. Why with me? You have a heart that is steady, she replied. You are kind even when no one watches. My daughters will be safe with you. Rahul shook his head. His thoughts were spinning. I'm not even a father. I don't know anything about raising children. The queen placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Her touch was warm and strangely comforting. You will learn. Humans learn quickly when their hearts are in the right place. Rahul looked down at the two girls. They were quiet and calm. Their bright eyes watching him with trust he did not feel he deserved. I don't think I can do this, he whispered. The queen's voice became soft but firm. You can, and you will. She stepped back into the fading column of light. Before she disappeared, she said the sentence that froze Rahul completely. I expect grandchildren when I return. The words echoed in the night, and Rahul felt every part of him go silent. He did not know what she meant by that, and he was too shocked to ask. Before he could speak or stop her, the queen vanished in a burst of light. The sky returned to its normal darkness. As if nothing unusual had happened, except two alien girls were now sitting on his doorstep. Rahul stared at them. The girls stared back. The night felt both peaceful and unreal. The humming sound faded away. The air became cool again, and the silence of the village returned. The girls slowly stood up. They moved gently, almost floating. Rahul felt his heart pounding. He did not know what to say or what to do. One of the girls stepped forward and touched his hand lightly. Her touch was warm and soft. Guardian, she said in a small voice. Rahul swallowed hard. Guardian, he repeated, confused. The second girl nodded. Mother said you will take care of us. Rahul took a deep breath. He felt fear, confusion, and responsibility all at once. He knew his life would never be the same again. The quiet nights of watching stars were gone. A new story had begun, one he had never imagined. One he was not prepared for, but he could not leave the girls outside in the dark. Whatever they were, whoever sent them, they were just children, and children needed safety. With a shaky hand, he opened his door. The girls stepped inside, their bright eyes lighting up the dim room. Rahul stood at the doorway for a moment. Looking up at the sky where the queen had disappeared, he whispered to himself, not knowing what the future held. What have I gotten myself into? He closed the door behind him, unaware of how important this night would become in his life. Unaware that this was only the beginning of a story bigger than anything he had ever dreamed. Rahul did not sleep at all that night. How could he? His house, which had always been quiet and ordinary, now had two alien girls sitting on his old sofa, looking around with shining eyes. The room felt different, almost magical, because everything the girls looked at seemed to interest them deeply. Even simple things like the ceiling fan or the small table lamp made them stare as if they were seeing treasures. Rahul kept walking back and forth, unsure what he was supposed to do. He had never taken care of children before, not even human children. And now he suddenly had two alien girls sitting in his living room. It felt unreal. He wanted to ask them 100 questions, but he was too nervous to begin. The girls sat quietly, their hands folded gently in their laps. They had calm expressions, but their eyes never stopped moving. They looked at the patterns on the walls, the old carpet, the wooden shelves, and even Rahul's slippers near the door. Everything fascinated them. Finally, Rahul gathered the courage to speak. "What are your names?" he asked, trying to sound gentle. The taller girl smiled softly. "I am Lyra." "And I am Selen," the younger one said, her voice light and sweet. Their voices were clear, as if they had practiced speaking his language for years. It surprised Rahul. He wondered if their mother had taught them the language, or if they had some special ability to understand him instantly. Either way, it made things easier, though no less confusing. "Are you hungry?" he asked. It was the only question he could think of at the moment. Both girls nodded politely at the same time. Rahul hurried into the kitchen. He had no idea what alien children ate. Did they eat normal food? Did they need special food from their planet? He had no answers, but he could not let them stay hungry, so he made something simple: milk and bread. It was all he had at the moment. When he returned, he placed the plates in front of them carefully, almost afraid they might say they couldn't eat it. But to his surprise, Both girls took the food gently and began eating with small bites. Their movements were graceful, almost too perfect for children their age. "Do you like it?" Raoul asked. Lyra nodded. "It is warm." "It feels nice," Selin smiled. "It tastes different, but good." Relief washed over Raoul. At least they could eat human food. That was one less problem to worry about. After eating, the girls touched the empty plates, and Rahul noticed something strange. For a moment, their fingertips glowed softly, and the plates became cleaner than before. Rahul blinked. He wasn't sure if he imagined it or if it was real. But then Lyra looked up and said, as if it were nothing unusual, "We cleaned them. Mother taught us." Rahul didn't know what to say to that. He just nodded and collected the plates, still amazed. The night grew colder, and Rahul realized the girls would need a place to sleep. His house only had 2 bedrooms, his own and the guest room. He had never used the guest room for anyone. But tonight, it would become the girls' room. He led them to the small room with a window that looked out into the garden. The bed was simple, but comfortable. Rahul wasn't sure if they were used to beds at all, but when the girls saw it, their eyes lit up. "This is soft," Selin said, pressing her hand onto the mattress. "Yes," Lyra agreed. "We like it." Rahul smiled nervously. "You both can sleep here. If you need anything, I'll be in the next room." The girls nodded. They sat on the bed and looked at each other with warm smiles. Rahul felt a strange feeling in his chest. They seemed so calm, so trusting. It made him want to protect them even more. But as he turned to leave the room, Selin suddenly spoke. "Good night, Guardian." Rahul froze. "Why do you call me that?" he asked softly. "Because you are," Lyra answered. "Mother said you would take care of us. That means you are our guardian." Rahul did not know how to respond. He simply nodded and walked out, closing the door gently. He leaned against the wall outside the room and took a deep breath. The word guardian echoed in his mind. It felt heavy, meaningful, and frightening all at once. He tried to sleep, but his thoughts made it impossible. He kept thinking about the Queen, her calm voice, and the strange sentence she had said before leaving. He wondered why she chose him out of all the people on Earth. He did not feel special. He was just a normal man, living a simple life. Why would an alien queen trust her children with him? Morning arrived slowly. Raoul had finally fallen asleep for a short while when he woke up to unusual noises coming from the kitchen. He rushed there, worried that the girls might be in trouble. What he saw left him speechless. Lyra was floating. Not jumping, not standing on a chair, floating. She was calmly in the air, reaching for the top shelf where Rahul kept spices. Meanwhile, Selin was sitting on the floor, making the plants in the small kitchen window grow taller just by waving her hand gently over them. "Good morning, Guardian," the girls said together, as if nothing unusual was happening. Rahul nearly dropped the cup he was holding. "Lyra, come down." "You H fall?" Lyra blinked. "Fall. But I am not supposed to fall." Still, she slowly lowered herself until her feet touched the floor again. It seemed normal to her, as if floating was as easy as breathing. Rahul took a moment to breathe. "You can fly?" "Not fly," Selin corrected sweetly. "Just float sometimes." Rahul rubbed his forehead. "Okay, no floating too much. People in the village might see." The girls nodded obediently. Rahul cooked breakfast, trying not to stare every time the girls made something glow or move on its own. They were powerful, but gentle. Their abilities were like soft tricks, not dangerous. Still, Rahul knew he had to be careful. If anyone saw them using their powers, the whole village would panic. Later in the day, Rahul needed to go outside to collect some milk from the nearby shop. He worried about leaving the girls alone, even for a short time. But they assured him they would stay inside and not make noise. As Rahul walked through the village, he noticed some neighbors talking about strange lights they had seen in the night sky. His heart raced. He kept his head down and acted normal, hoping no one would connect anything to him. When he returned home, found the girl sitting on the floor, reading a book he had left on the table. It was an old storybook filled with simple pictures and short stories. Somehow the girls had finished the whole book in minutes. You read all of it? Rahul asked. Yes, Lyra said. It was interesting. We like stories, Slan added. Your world tells stories differently than ours. Rahul sat down with them. Tell me something about your world. The girls looked at each other and smiled softly. Lyra spoke first. Our world is bright. The sky changes colors. Our people live in peaceful places with tall glowing trees.
Aline continued.
We learn many things when we are young. Our abilities grow with our emotions. Rahul listened carefully. He realized that even though they were far from home, the girls did not look sad. Instead, they seemed curious and ready to understand Earth. As the day passed, Rahul tried to teach them simple things: how to use the door lock, how to wash hands without glowing fingers, how to fold blankets, and how to talk quietly. They learned everything quickly. Their minds were sharp and fast. At one point, Selen asked, Guardian, do you live alone? Yes, Rahul answered. I always have. Not anymore, Lyra said quietly. We are here now. Rahul felt something warm in his chest. He looked at the girls and realized that, even though he had not asked for this responsibility, he was beginning to care deeply for them. As night returned, the house felt different. It felt alive. It felt like a home again. Rahul sat on his bed, staring at the ceiling, knowing that the days ahead would not be easy. But he also knew that he would not be alone anymore. The girls needed him, and he could not let them down. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of challenges, surprises, and moments that would test everything he believed. Days passed quietly, but nothing about Rahul's life felt normal anymore. Before the girls came, his house had always been a silent place, where he heard only the hum of the ceiling fan or the soft rustling of trees outside. Now, the house was filled with whispers, questions, laughter, sometimes sudden flashes of glowing light, when the girls forgot to control their abilities. Rahul had gone from living alone to raising 2 alien daughters overnight, and every sunrise taught him something new about them by the end of the week. The girls had learned almost everything inside the house. They knew which cupboard kept the sugar, which switch controlled the garden light, which shelf held the storybooks, and which floor tile made a strange sound when stepped on. Rahul was amazed at how fast they learned, but it also worried him. If they could understand things this quickly, they might also grow faster than human children. He had no idea how their bodies worked or what to expect. Outside the house, life continued as usual, but Rahul could feel the world slowly becoming suspicious. People in the village had sharp eyes, and even sharper curiosity. Strange lights in the sky had already become the main topic of discussion. Everywhere Rahul walked, he heard the same words carried through quiet conversations. Did you see it? What was it? Maybe a plane? Maybe something else? Sometimes, Rahul wanted to tell them, yes, I saw it. Something came from the sky, and it is sitting on my sofa right now. But of course, he couldn't. No one would believe him, and even if they did, it would only bring trouble. One afternoon, while Rahul was preparing lunch, he noticed that the girls were unusually silent. When children become too quiet, it usually means something is happening. He walked into the living room and found them both sitting by the window, staring outside with deep concentration. What are you two doing? He asked. We are listening, Lyra said, without turning around. Listening to what? Rahul walked closer. Selen blinked slowly. To the people outside? They are talking about last night's lights again. Rahul froze. Wait, you can hear them from here? Lyra nodded. We hear more than normal humans can. Our ears work differently. Rahul felt a cold shiver. Okay, from now on, don't tell anyone about that. Some people might get scared. You understand, Lyra said gently. At that moment, the bells of the village temple rang and both girls jumped a little. The sound was normal to humans, but to them, it must have felt loud. Selen covered her ears. The world here is noisy, she whispered. Rahul knelt beside them. If it ever becomes too loud, just tell me. We'll close the windows. The girls nodded. Later that day, things took an unexpected turn. A neighbor named Ramesh stopped by. He was a man who liked knowing everything about everyone. Rahul felt his heart jump when he heard knocks on the door. He quickly told the girls to stay in their room and not make any glowing lights or floating objects. Rahul opened the door, trying to look normal. Rahul, Ramesh said, his eyes sharp. "Have you heard the news?" "What news?" Rahul asked casually. "Scientists from the nearby city are coming. They want to investigate the strange lights." He leaned forward. "They said the energy signal came from somewhere near this side of the village." Rahul felt sweat forming on his forehead. "Really? Maybe it was some machine or something?" Maybe, Ramesh said, not convinced. "But some people said they saw a bright light right in this area." "You didn't see anything, right?" Rahul swallowed. "No, nothing. I was asleep." Ramesh stared at him suspiciously for a few seconds. "Well, if you see anything strange, let me know." Then he left. Rahul closed the door and leaned against it, trying to calm down. The world was beginning to notice things, and he needed to be very careful. When he walked back to the girls' room, he found them standing quietly. "You heard us," Rahul said. Already knowing the answer? "Yes," Selin said softly. "We heard every word." Rahul sat on a chair and sighed. "This is going to be difficult. People here get scared easily. They might think you're dangerous." "But we are not dangerous," Lyra said. "I know," Rahul replied. "But not everyone will understand that. So we have to be careful." The girls nodded. They understood more than children their age normally would. Maybe that was part of their alien nature. They didn't just listen. They understood the meaning behind everything. That night, something strange happened. After dinner, the girls sat close to each other, whispering in a language Rahul did not understand. Their voices were soft, musical, and full of emotion. Rahul didn't want to interrupt, but their whispering suddenly stopped, and they both looked at him. Guardian Lyra began slowly. "There is something we must tell you." Rahul put down the cup he was holding. "What is it?" Selin looked nervous, and Lyra took her hand gently. The room felt quiet, as if it was waiting for their words. "We were not only hidden here," Selin said. "Mother left us here with another purpose." "What purpose?" Rahul asked, confused. "To learn about Earth," Lyra explained. "To understand your ways, and to choose someone from here." Rahul frowned. "Choose someone? For what?" "For the future," Lyra replied softly. "Our people build strong connections with other worlds. When we grow older, we choose someone from another place to create a bond. It helps our world stay peaceful." Rahul's eyes widened. "You mean you were sent here to choose someone one day?" "It is not now," Selin said quickly. "We are still young. Very young. This is something that happens much later. But Mother said it is time to start learning," Lyra added. Rahul rubbed his forehead. He felt overwhelmed. "And what does that have to do with me?" Lyra and Selin looked at each other before answering. "You must guide us," Lyra said. "You are a guardian," Selin added. "You must help us learn how humans think, how they feel, how they choose." Rahul felt pressure he had never felt in his life. He was supposed to teach to alien girls about human emotions, relationships, behavior, kindness, trust everything. It was too much for one person. But when he looked into their hopeful eyes, he realized he couldn't refuse. These girls believed in him. He took a deep breath and nodded slowly. "I'll do my best," the girls smiled, relieved. The next few days became even more challenging. The girls' abilities became harder to hide. One morning, Selin got scared by a loud thunder sound and accidentally made all the books in the room float. Rahul panicked and closed the curtains. Another time, Lyra became frustrated while trying to braid her hair. The mirror cracked because her emotions affected the energy around her. Rahul realized their powers were connected to how they felt. So he began teaching them simple ways humans calmed themselves: deep breaths, counting numbers, listening to soft music. It worked sometimes, and sometimes not. But they tried hard, and that made Rahul proud. However, the world outside was getting even more curious. Scientists had reached the village. They walked around with strange machines, asking questions, taking pictures, and checking energy readings. Rahul watched them from his window, his heart racing. If they got too close, They might detect the girl's presence. One evening, Rahul sat with the girls as the sun set. The sky was painted with orange and pink colors, and the quiet sound of the wind filled the air. Lyra leaned against Rahul's arm, and Selin sat beside him. "Do you miss your mother?" Rahul asked softly. Lyra nodded. "Every day. But being here with you makes us feel safe," Selin added. Rahul felt a wave of emotion. He had never imagined being a father figure, especially not to children from another world. But somehow, it felt right. The girls brought warmth into his home, and he brought them comfort in a world they did not know. Just when he thought the moment was peaceful, Lyra suddenly sat up straight. "Someone is coming," she whispered. Rahul tensed. He heard faint footsteps outside his gate. When he peeked through the window, his heart dropped. It wasn't a villager. It wasn't a friend. It was one of the scientists. Rahul knew at that moment that life was about to get even more complicated, and the truth about the girls would soon be harder to hide. The next morning came with soft sunlight entering through the small gaps in the curtains. The room was quiet, but the silence did not feel empty. Instead, it felt warm and full of new hope. When the main character opened their eyes, they needed a few seconds to understand where they were. Then everything from the previous day returned slowly, the challenges they had faced, the unexpected support they had received, and the small courage that had grown inside them. It was a strange feeling, like standing at the edge of something new while still holding pieces of the past tightly in their hands. The first thought that came to their mind was the promise they made to give themselves one more chance, to let life speak before shutting the door on new possibilities. They sat up on the bed, stretched their shoulders, and felt a heaviness leave their chest. For the first time in a long while, they did not feel tired the moment they woke up. It felt as if life was telling them, "You are not done yet." They stepped out of the room quietly, not wanting to disturb anyone. The house was peaceful. A gentle smell of tea came from the kitchen, and the walls seemed warmer than usual. When they reached the dining area, they found someone already awake, making breakfast. That person turned with a soft smile and said good morning in a voice that felt kind and steady. It was a small thing, a simple greeting, but it touched something in the main character. After days of worry, doubt, and emotional struggle, this simple kindness felt like a lifeline. "Did you sleep well?" the person asked. "Yes." "Better than before?" they answered honestly. "Good. A new day has its own strength. You only need to take small steps." Small steps. That phrase stayed in their mind. Maybe they did not have to fix their entire life in one day. Maybe they only needed to move 1 inch at a time. Breakfast was simple, but comforting. As they ate, they talked about ordinary things: work, responsibilities, small matters that usually felt heavy, but now sounded lighter. The other person kept the conversation gentle, never pushing too hard, never asking painful questions, and never judging. It felt nice to be heard without pressure. It felt nice to exist without being asked to be strong all the time. After breakfast, they stepped outside for some fresh air. The morning breeze touched their face softly, and the sunlight felt warm on their skin. They walked slowly through the nearby street, observing the world around them. People were going to work, children were laughing on their way to school, and shopkeepers were opening their shops with their usual energy. Life was moving forward, and for the first time, the main character felt like maybe they could move with it too. They reached a small park nearby. There were trees with bright leaves, and a few birds sat on the branches, singing in their natural rhythm. The grass was fresh with morning dew. They found a bench and sat down quietly. This park had always been there, but they never had time to sit and just exist. Today felt different. Today, they wanted to breathe. As they sat there, thoughts came and went. Some were heavy, but some were finally gentle. They thought about the mistakes they had made, mistakes that had kept them awake at night, mistakes they could not take back. But now, they no longer felt like those mistakes had to define them forever. Maybe they were just lessons. Hard lessons, yes, but lessons that shaped who they were becoming. After a few minutes, they heard footsteps approaching. The same person from the house came to join them, carrying 2 cups of hot tea. They handed one over with a smile. You disappeared so quietly. I thought you needed someone to sit with you. Thank you, the main character said softly. They sat there together, sipping tea, not speaking for a while. And surprisingly, the silence did not feel uncomfortable. It felt peaceful. It felt healing. Sometimes, the right person did not need to say anything. Their presence alone was enough. Finally, the other person spoke. You know, I've seen you fight through days you thought you wouldn't survive. I have seen you carry burdens that would break most people. You think you are weak, but you are not. You are still here, and that says a lot. The words hit deep. The main character felt their eyes sting slightly, but they controlled themselves. They were tired of crying. They wanted to be stronger now, even if only a little. I'm trying, they whispered. I know. And trying is enough for today. That sentence felt like a warm blanket around the heart. Trying was enough. They did not need to be perfect. They did not need to solve everything. Trying was enough. They stayed in the park for a long time, watching people walk by, watching leaves fall gently from the trees. It felt like the world was telling them that life moves in seasons. Some seasons are heavy and dark, but they do not last forever. There's always a new season waiting. As the morning slowly turned into afternoon, they both decided to walk around the park. They talked about dreams, about fears, and about possibilities. The main character realized something important during that walk. They had stopped dreaming for a long time. Their life had become all about survival. But now, maybe they could allow themselves to dream again. They reached a quiet corner of the park, where a small lake reflected the sky beautifully. They stood there for a moment, watching the water. The main character suddenly felt something shift inside them. A soft whisper of courage, a small spark of hope. It was not loud, and it was not dramatic. It was gentle, but it was real. I want to change, they said suddenly. The other person looked at them with calm confidence. Then you will. You've already started, but it's scary. Everything meaningful is a little scary, but you won't be alone. Those words became a turning point. For so long, the main character had carried everything alone. They had pushed people away, hidden their pain, and fought quiet battles every night. But today, they were allowing someone to walk beside the man that changed everything. They walked back home with lighter steps. The rest of the day went smoothly. They cleaned their room, organized their things, and even made a small list of goals for the week. Nothing big, simple things like waking up early, drinking more water, reading for 10 minutes, and taking a short walk every day. These goals were small, but they made the main character feel like life was manageable again. In the evening, sat outside for a while, watching the sky change colors. The sunset looked calm and beautiful, painting the sky with soft orange and pink shades. They felt grateful for the support they received, grateful for the new hope growing inside, and grateful for the chance to try again before going to bed. They looked at themselves in the mirror and spoke to their reflection in a soft voice. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to start over, the first time in months. They believed their own words. They lay down on the bed, feeling lighter, feeling safer, and feeling ready to face tomorrow not with fear, but with new courage. The darkness in their mind was not gone completely, but it had finally met a small light. That light was enough to guide them for now, and slowly, with a peaceful heart, they drifted into sleep, ready for the next chapter of their healing journey. The next morning began with a soft, hopeful feeling in the air. The main character woke up before the sun was fully out. There was a sense of calm inside them, a quiet strength that had not been there for a long time. They sat up slowly, breathing deeply, noticing that their heart no longer felt as heavy as it used to. The room looked the same, but something inside them had changed. They felt more alive, more aware, and more ready to face the day. They got out of bed and opened the window. A fresh breeze entered the room, carrying the smell of morning. The sky was a gentle mix of light pink and gold, and birds were flying from one tree to another as if celebrating a new beginning. The world felt peaceful, and for the first time, the main character felt connected to that peace. After getting ready, they went to the living room, where the same person who had supported them through their hardest moments was sitting quietly with a cup of tea. When they looked up and smiled softly, the main character felt warmth in their heart. It was the kind of smile that made a person feel safe. "Good morning," they said. "Good morning," the main character replied. "I woke up feeling different today." "Lighter." "It's good," the person said. Healing doesn't happen all at once, but each small step matters. The main character nodded. "I want today to be a productive day. I want to try something new." It's the spirit. "What do you want to start with?" The main character thought for a moment. There were many things they had abandoned because of stress, fear, or fatigue. Old dreams, forgotten hobbies, unfinished projects, all waiting silently. Today they decided it was time to reconnect with at least one of them. "I want to start with something creative," they finally said. "Something that makes me feel alive again." "Then let's do that," the person replied warmly. They spent the morning deciding what creative activity to try. Should it be writing? Drawing? Gardening? Cleaning and decorating the house? After thinking for a few minutes, the main character chose to start with something simple yet meaningful. They decided to write. Not a long story, not something complicated, just simple thoughts, simple feelings, simple reflections. They sat at the table with a notebook and pen, and for the first few minutes, no words came. They just stared at the blank page. But soon, something shifted. A thought appeared, then another. They began to write freely, expressing things they had held inside for months. Not dark thoughts, just reflections, small truths about themselves. Their fears, their hopes, and the things they wished to change. As they wrote, tears filled their eyes, but these were not painful tears. They were soft, healing tears, the kind that come when a heart begins to open again. The supportive person quietly placed a cup of warm tea beside their hand, not interrupting, just being there. That gentle presence made the main character feel even more supported. After a while, they put the pen down and exhaled deeply. "How do you feel?" the person asked softly. "Lighter? Like I finally listened to myself," they replied. "That's the first step to finding peace, listening to your own heart." They smiled a little, grateful for the encouragement. Around noon, they decided to go outside for a small walk. The day was bright and the sky was clear. Children were playing, shopkeepers were smiling, and people were moving through the streets with purpose. The main character felt a sense of belonging they had long forgotten. They walked to a small market nearby. There were colorful fruits, handmade items, flowers arranged in beautiful bunches, and small cafes with warm lights. The main character stopped near a flower stall, admiring the bright colors. The vendor smiled kindly and showed them a few fresh flowers. After a moment, he chose a small bunch of white and yellow flowers, simple yet full of life. "These will brighten your home," the vendor said. "Yes," the main character agreed. "And they brightened my day too." They returned home with the flowers and placed them in a glass jar. The room instantly felt more alive. Something so small had made such a big difference. The rest of the day flowed smoothly. They cleaned a little, organized their books, and even found an old photo album. Looking through the pictures brought back memories, some painful, some beautiful, all part of their journey. They realized that even though certain moments had hurt them, those moments had also shaped their strength. Later in the afternoon, they sat with the supportive person and talked about the future, not in a heavy way, but in a gentle, open-hearted way. They discussed dreams, goals, and steps they could take to build a better, healthier life. The main character admitted they were scared of failing again. And the other person listened patiently before saying, "Failure is not the opposite of progress. It's a part of it. You can fall, you can pause, you can rest, but you don't give up." These words stayed in the main character's heart. After resting for a bit, the main character decided to help prepare dinner. They worked side by side in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, stirring pots, setting the table. It felt good to contribute, to take part in something again. It felt like reclaiming a piece of life. During dinner, they laughed gently at small jokes, shared simple stories, and enjoyed the calm atmosphere. There was no pressure to be perfect, No need to hide pain. It was a moment of peace, and the main character cherished it deeply. When night came, they both stepped outside to enjoy the cool air. The sky was filled with stars, shining softly like tiny promises. The world felt wide and full of possibilities. The main character looked up at the stars and felt a quiet determination grow inside them. "I want to live with purpose," they said slowly. "I want to do more than just exist." "You will," the person replied. "You are already on the path." A lie. "But I know there will be hard days too," they said. "Yes, hard days don't disappear. But now you know you can face them, and you don't have to face them alone." The main character nodded. They felt a sense of strength, not loud or dramatic, but steady and real. They understood something important: healing is not a straight path. It goes up and down. It takes time, but they had already taken many steps, and they were proud of themselves for that. Before going inside, they took one last look at the sky. "I'm not the same person I was a few weeks ago," they whispered. "And that's a good thing," the person answered. "You are growing." They entered the house, closed the door gently, and sat on the bed. Their mind felt calm, their heart felt strong, and their soul felt renewed. They picked up the notebook again and wrote one last line before sleeping: "I choose to keep going." Those 5 words meant everything. They were a promise to themselves, a commitment to their own healing, a declaration of hope. With peaceful thoughts, they lay down, pulled the blanket around their shoulders, and closed their eyes. Sleep came softly, like a warm hug. This time, it was not an escape, it was rest. True rest, and in that quiet moment, the future felt open, bright, and full of new beginnings, waiting patiently for the new version of them to step forward with confidence, courage, and gentle hope.